thought they had banished us forever. But now... finally... we have returned.
Welcome back to another Writer Showcase. I am your host, Lord Captain Commander Dunn, and I am pleased to bring on a couple of guests, starting with my good friend.
I am the scales of justice, conductor of the choir of death. Sing, brothers, sing, sing!
Hello.
Hello. How's life? Howdy, Axula. Good to see you, as ever. Alrighty, let me see. What's an appropriate reaction? This works for Mr. Yuri.
I'm so glad you noticed.
Yeah, I guess that kind of works for me. It seems a little, reductive, like unimpressive. Less honor than I'm due. You called Codex your good friend, and me it's just, it's from Mr. Yuri.
Well,
it's like an ice cream cone falling to the ground. That's what it feels like.
Well, I've known you for like a few weeks,
and
and
I'm just giving you a hard time, brother.
I know, I'm giving you a hard time back. No worries. Alrighty. Well, I guess I could call Codex semi-protege, I suppose.
Wow.
Protege.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think you found me via Twitter. I said, hey, I'd be willing to help you out with your writing. I probably need to do more to give you feedback, but yeah.
The important thing is he's your protege, not the other way around.
Yeah. All right.
Now I feel kind of bad. I knew that was going to be like an awkward sort of spin curveball to throw the two of you, but I feel like it genuinely did inspire enmity, and that was not my intention.
Fair enough.
I doubt. Nah, not really. Codex has one of the best sense of humor I'm aware of.
Well,
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I just made you feel awkward. That's all.
Nah.
That was already
certainly
there. That awkwardness, nothing to do with me.
first time, huh?
That's the thing about friends. You just laugh and laugh and laugh about everything.
Yep.
Alrighty. So, how do we want to break this up? Shall we do Codex, Yuri, and then wait for Valerian, and then me?
Yeah, sure. I think
Let's go with
Valerian.
that, yeah.
I think he listened to the first couple of parts of my thing.
Okay. Alrighty. Cool.
Okay.
Well, all right. Well, then I will let you guys go.
Okay. Yeah, so my story is basically my female character that I'm having in mind exactly. And Dunn, you might know this from from a particular stream we did with a particular noble commander, so to speak. But yeah, I'll just get on with it. Floating, floating, floating. She was slowly falling so far into the black. She opened her eyes to see a vast emptiness of black water encompassing her. Her lungs were fit to burst under the pressure, choking her, driving the remaining air from her lungs. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw a dull grey mask gently floating down into the deep black, just before it succumbed to the utter blackness. She swam towards it with the last strength left in her limbs, her vision blurred, slowly turning into a deep, deep night. Almost there. Slowly, the last gasp of air escaped her lungs before the dark sea utterly encompassed her. She pressed the mask onto her face with the last remaining of her strength. In, out, in, out. She opened her eyes again, floating stationary into the black. in the blackness. She clutched her chest in shock, thinking she was losing air again. I'm she thought, able to able able to calmly regain her composure, realizing she wasn't just alive in a vast sea. She felt a power, something beyond her understanding. Who am I? And what had happened before? She remembered. A dream. A dream about an island shrouded in something terrible, falling from the sky and being embraced in the gentle arms of the sea, and a hint of something. A singing choir of an unsung song from the sea. It was the only true constant as she slept. She looked around. Her vision of the utter darkness had gone, replaced with a deep blue. Fields of coral and reefs gently swaying on the seabed below, pushed by an invisible wind. And everywhere, flying around her, were scores and scores of sea life. Awed by all the activity of these creatures, she was a silent watcher observing the comings and goings of life itself. Looking down, she looked at her hands, then her feet, seeing they were like fins, able to part the water casually. She was slim for what was coursing through her body. Her chest and her shoulder. Sorry, let me say it again. Her chest and shoulder were armored in a sapphire blue. Then something caught her ear, a loud boom of thunder above her, but she felt no fear, just sheer wonder, and began to swim towards where the thunderclaps came. Slowly, she began to kick her legs in a steady rhythm, allowing her to glide through this blue sea, swiftly breaking through the silted surface. Her amber eyes gazed out to see a pale misty cloak, but slowly, her gaze seeming to part the sea mist. As soon as it lifted, her eyes caught a small green boat being thrashed against the waves, with two childlike people, if they could be called people, trying to navigate out of the misty storm. The sky was alight with brilliant flashes, as if the world was a living electric machine, as the lightning came in rapid succession, and the tumult of the waves thrashing against the little green boat like a hammer beating against a gong. Only she was stationary, being a peaceful serenity against the storm's roaring howl. Then something caught her eye. Far across the stormy sea, something was above the sea. This creature wasn't just a being of the night. This being was shrouded in a true darkness, almost devoid of anything, say a hint of grey under its tattered cloak. It slowly moved towards the boat, and two like sailors, affected by the sun, as if it was never there. Realizing what the creature was doing, she tried to swim towards them, but something was slowing her. Not the storm, but a sudden inrush of cold, only growing as she swam towards the boat. But they were too far from her. Desperately, she reached out for it with an open hand, and just before the shadow creature could claim its prize, something exploded about 10 pieces underneath the boat, causing a slight wave to push the boat away from the shrouded creature. The boat was scooped up by the wave, forcing it near the shore as if someone was pulling it along on a string, and slowly coming to a stop. Trembling, the two crew members stood up, confused, wondering how or what made them escape so quickly, but keeping their eyes up for the creature that attacked them. The thunder and lightning redoubled its wrathful assault, twisting and thrashing the sea around the boat, almost crushing against the rocks. She didn't know what to do, but a voice Sorry. But a voice calm as the gentle wind called. Climb, the voice said. Climb the cliff and calm the sea. She turned her head and saw that the cliff that the voice said, seeing the two crew members struggling to stay clear of the jagged rocks by throwing out ropes to steady the boat, but it wouldn't last long. Diving down, she swam towards a pillar of stone, pressing her mechanical feet on the base, and like a torpedo, launching herself off the sea, grabbing onto the cliff face, and slowly ascended it. She climbed and slid, due to the rain causing her to lose her grip. But it couldn't stop her from reaching her goal. Upon reaching the top, with a single great leap, she landed on the summit. Calm the sea? What did they mean? She thought, not knowing what it meant, nor understand how to calm a storm, even if she could, but knowing that her inactions would cost the lives of two innocents. She couldn't focus on anything, couldn't concentrate. So many things were happening at once. It was all so much. Breathe. The voice came, more potent this time. Breathe. Focus on the moment, and breathe. The calming voice was bliss in her mind, closing her eyes and letting out a stressful breath. She raised her hands towards the dark clouds and focused on what she had to do. Then, after a few seconds, she opened her eyes again. And out of the corner of her eye, a single raindrop stopped. Then another. 10, 18, hundreds. She looked at her mechanical hands. They were coated in a transparent blue, and the raindrops seemed to move as she examined them. Finally come to the realization, she moved her hands slowly towards the dark sky. In doing so, it formed a small orb of energized water, making a wailing sound as it grew. With this, the rainstorm slowly died out. The thunder rumbling became muffled, and the lightning faded. If someone slowly turned a switch, the storm's wrathful rampage was now just dark clouds. As the wailing orb reached its fullest, gradually it faded, and then nothing. She rested resting her arms, and she gazed out to sea. The two sailors seemed shaken up. But it gladdened her heart that they were okay. The two sailors turned their head, looking for their mysterious savior. A last brief flash lit up the sky, causing them to turn to the cliff, and seeing her standing on top of the cliff face, awed by her power and beauty. "It's her! It's Gala!" cried out one of the sailors. "Do they know me?" she thought. But the name of one of the sailors said, Gala. Something about that seemed right, befitting what she was. However, she was something more, so beyond nature. As the morning sun rose, parting the looming mist and breaking through the blackened sky, she plunged into the sapphire tide and vanished into the deep blue on her soundless wings. And that's it.
I do like your prose. Prose have a lot of good stuff in them, I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you definitely have a good grasp on this character and what she thinks and stuff like that, which is really good. I think that your descriptions have gotten a lot better. I can definitely picture more clearly what this thing looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything that you kind of felt like you wanted to improve? I guess what was
I
like
think maybe just saying out loud. I've been busy with work lately, so I haven't had the time to practice. But I think I could do a lot better just to slow my pace down a bit and get this thing right exactly. If that makes any sense.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed the prose, the British accent. You do a great British accent. Like I just got the impression it was like this woman kind of watching the sea, and then there's a storm, and then she stops it. Is that the gist? Like somebody's teaching her to like weather magic, or yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like waterbending essentially. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, no, and it's like there's kind of like I don't know. I got like kind of implications towards like like dealing with your own emotions and what have you as well. Like there's some mystical / spiritual sort of implications there. It was quite lovely. It was quite a lovely thing. But I don't know. I wouldn't call it boring, but I can't think of anything else that happened.
Okay.
All right. Any other thoughts that we wanted to do before we move to Mr. Yuri?
Yeah.
No, go on. You first.
No, I don't have one. I was just like,
I'm going to be either.
yeah, all right. I felt obligated to make an I wish Valerian was here, but it's fine. Everything's fine. The world will go on. All right. So I don't remember like you
Before
guys.
you do, speaking of speaking,
Timing.
indeed.
Afternoon, I beg your pardon.
Hello.
It's quite all right. Your timing's impeccable, actually. You just missed codexes, but I'm
Oh, I
ready
see.
to go.
Oh, okay.
Do you guys remember what I was doing? You remember it's been a while.
Monkey King?
Yeah.
Yeah, something about the monkeys
Yes. And their king.
and their king, and
Mostly king.
various mystical things were happening.
Yes. All right. So I'm not sure if I left. I think I probably did chapter 1, and I think we're on chapter 2. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll just see how this goes. Everybody ready? You got your seats in your upright positions.
Mm-hmm.
Tray tables back. Okay. The raft was just something he strung together because he noticed the wood drifting in the lapping salt waves of the ocean would float. Little islands that didn't sparkle in the sun while he stood with his feet in the sand. He was born on the mountain of fruit and flowers, but that mountain was on a rather small island. He knew that if he wanted to learn anything, he had to leave. Understand that at this point he had no notions of the terrific size of the world. He thought he could see eternity in a grain of sand, but he had no idea that these grains of sand were effectively infinite. He had no idea until he looked out to the ocean and saw just at the edge of a squinted horizon the outline of some color, not quite blue. Trees, he thought. The water, which was once an endless edge, became, in his mind, a river, and he didn't float as well as wood. And that is what brought him to drifting with empty bags of fruit. Are they still bags of fruit when there's nothing left inside of them? Isn't a bag of whatever is inside of it? They would have been bags of Handsome Monkey King then, because I played with them constantly, drifting uncontrollably and starving on the high seas. They kept the sun off my peeling face. Funny thing, but I never thought twice during the worst of it, when the world became a tunnel in every direction that I looked, like my eyes were snakes that I was following, burrowing into the air. I never had a single thought. From the starvation or the lack of stimulation, she asks him. He would shrug if he could move his shoulders. So instead, he lifts and drops his hands. Maybe I was burrowing between worlds. Let me tell you, when the raft suddenly stopped, it's rolling up, down, and around after I really don't know how long. I kept right on rolling. His head moved in a rhythmic sway of demonstration. I rolled right along on the beach. I couldn't walk on my hind arms, too weak, so I had to crawl along on all four hands. Those gave out pretty quick, and I was just swinging along like the snakes in my eyes towards the smell of fresh water. It's really more like the smell of not salt, though. Fresh water is something you're so used to smelling, you might think it doesn't have a smell, but it smells like life, like that thing that dried out of Sharina, like youth. He lay in the mud of the riverbed, his nose just sticking out of the cool brown water, letting his mouth open and close playfully. He was not an animal that knew anything like resentment or regret. He did not pity himself. When did you learn to pity? Monkey takes a moment to think about this. It's hard for anyone to pinpoint the exact moment when they learned a habit, when something that wasn't part of their pattern of living found its way inside. It is hard, but Monkey is, for all of his flaws and weaknesses, incredibly capable. It was a few weeks later, actually. I slept in the mud for a while, and there was a lot of crawling and finding food after so long starving. Even the mud was nutritious, and bugs. I had no qualms about eating bugs, insects, arachnids, and worms of any kind. I mean, they weren't bananas, but my mother provides, so I take. His hands do that shrugging swing again. I wondered when I could walk again, naked as my mother made me, which is to say, covered in my once lustrous fur, ragged now. Really, this mountain has done me no favors. I used to spend hours combing through my fur with sticks, back when I was first crowned king, and having my wives comb me too. There wasn't a hair that stuck to another, and each one shined. It did. I was like the sun itself. You can imagine my delight when I discovered the comb. Monkey, how vain can you be? I thought you wanted to know when I learned to pity. I guess the first pity was for Sharina, but that was by no means the artful sort. No, the art of pity I learned in my first village I came to. It took me a lifetime to master, though I suppose that is the way it goes with things that you don't even know you are doing. It's more of a passive ability. He wandered in filthy, covered in mud-crusted sores and patchy fur. The first to see him was a little girl who screamed, "Swamp monster! Swamp monster! The mud has eyes and hands and feet." Of course, I didn't understand a word she was saying. Human language is so complicated. What with subjects and predicate and transitive and intransitive verbs, nouns, adjectives, declensions, and metaphors. I spoke pure onomatopoeia, so I did. And as an onomatopoeia, what I heard meant, fear, fear, fear. And the men with pitchforks came running. I remembered how the little babies, all of them, my children actually, would wriggle around so cute, you just had to give them food. And I was hungry, so I cooed and cawed, and I wobbled and I dobbled like a little baby, making myself small as I could. I guess I got down to about the size of a puppy. It wasn't hard. I was pretty much just a bag of skin filled with whatever it is that left Sharina. The guards listen intently. The guard listens intently, examining not just the moving sounds and pictures that the words conjure in her mind, but the feelings. She realizes that he noticed her attachment to the woman Sharina and has begun to work her into the story with a hollow tenderness everywhere he can. How much of what he says is true? It all sounds true, but maybe just as true as a very thorough lie. She shakes her head to herself, but he sees. No, really, I can change my size. Why, more than once I got down to the size of a fly. Of course, the best I could do then, since it was before I learned to transform, was a big puppy. A big puppy with a monkey's face. Injured, too. Pity paid out for Monkey in ways that he would not have predicted, but soon learned to. The man carried the pitiful mass of a creature into a barn and brought it some clean spring water and some old bananas. They were brown, but that made them all the sweeter, he winks. Kind of like me, showing teeth again. After a few days of eating spoiling fruit, Monkey was back on his hind hands, as he calls them. You should see them. Feet just isn't the word. I could do more with my left hind hand than a pick-locking juggler can with his right. He nods, self-satisfied. You should see the sweaters I knit. The little girl, Lilu, didn't think he was a monster anymore. She came to the barn where Monkey curled up in a corner, enjoying the yellow smell of hay and the sharp cracking of the gray wooden walls. The horse was not a great conversationalist, talking mostly about how he didn't trust Monkey, not one bit, but the chickens were quite friendly, in a dull sort of way. Lilu brought a bucket of water and a brush. He looked at the brush with wonder. He had not discovered the comb yet, and so the brush impressed him all the more. He let her wash him in the cool, clean water, emoting that she had to be gentle with his rough skin. She giggled, sort of sound, and he copied it. You're not a monster, she told him when she saw the pink skin of his face. He repeated every word, not understanding a single one. Well, of course I'm not a monster. I'm a girl. Girls can't be monsters. When he repeated this, she said, You're not a girl. You have a beard. She replied to him, I don't have a beard. She rubbed her cheeks smoothly. Yes, you do, she rubbed his furry ones. No, I don't, she said, while he was rubbing her cheeks. This went on for quite a while, the monkey repeating after the girl and the girl answering her own statements about him vehemently. At the time, it all meant pretty much nothing to him. But she was playing a game, he realized, and he loves games. Is your name Lilu? He asks the guard suddenly, tangenting from his narrative. That's the name of a little girl, not a goddess, she smiles. So she taught you to speak. Haven't you been listening? I knew how to speak when I met her. I could say anything she could say. I just didn't know what it meant. She taught me the basic language, though, yes. And I learned that being small could be stronger than being big. When I was the handsome Monkey King, it was all about being the biggest, being the toughest. But there's no way that I could have fought her father if I'd threatened him. He might have broken me. But a baby has power, doesn't it? Careful, Monkey. It sounds like you're learning from your mistakes. Mistakes? I make no mistakes. I am the great sage equaling heaven. Is heaven trapped under a mountain, unable to scratch its own nose? Heaven doesn't have a nose. He uses the fan like a long finger, scraping the sharp corner against the hole of his nostril. Monkey stayed at the farmhouse, getting more food the cuter he was, spending the day watching Lilu's father and mother garden while she went about chores. It was a wonder to him. A jungle that can be controlled. You don't have to go looking for bananas. They're right there, right where you put them. Same with cucumbers and pumpkins and all these other vegetables he'd never even seen before. Once, they gave him some oxtail soup, and it was the most delicious thing he'd ever eaten. He was never invited inside, though. Never treated like anything more than the daughter's pet. He learned to speak well, but to the father and mother it was all just hoots and hollers. They saw a monkey, and a monkey cannot talk. One full moon night, he followed the shadows into the forest and never found his way back. Lilu must have been heartbroken. His hands shrugged. I am not an animal, and I wanted to be more than what I was. I came to the shore for a reason. She gave me the words of the language, and I gave her a friend. The trade was fair. You didn't even say goodbye. You just disappeared. You never even thought about her again until now, did you, monkey? You're not alone in this world, great sage. Your every breath is part of the wind, and every person you meet is full of that same thing you wanted to find a way to drink, full of life, consciousness, feeling. That didn't occur to you, did it? He cocks his head to the side, then the other side. What you're saying almost makes sense, but it has no meaning to me. And that's it. That's the chapter.
Okay.
Interesting. So, let's see. The monkey was traveling on the ocean, and then he's talking to this girl about his life in general.
I really should have started with a recap.
And how he learned pity. Something like that. But it seems the plot has more to do with themes than actual plot.
Or like little vignettes.
Yeah, vignettes. Oops, he muted himself. Oh, bother.
Oh yeah, I wanted to not muddy the pool at all from the responses. But yeah, no vignettes. I mean, like you guys vaguely remember the last couple of editions.
Vaguely, it's mostly just kind of a blur of various stories about the handsome Monkey King.
I mean, it's in order. Like there's a.
Well,
I think that's the issue maybe with the format I wrote this in, where it's like she's kind of interrogating him about his past, and it's like he's kind of under the mountain.
Well, I just don't remember kind of a lot of the sequence of events. It'll probably be better if I was reading it, but I don't necessarily remember a lot of the kind of how the plot functions and what the arc is supposed to be. I get that it's kind of a Sinbad type narrative, at least in terms of these are my adventures and such like, and so that's kind of what I'm kind of getting right now is kind of
So
a series
far,
of
okay.
adventures.
Yeah, it's like episodes in the process of him becoming him.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. That's okay.
Is
Anything? Go ahead.
Sorry, is this the same Monkey King who went on the pilgrimage to India with that Chinese,
With the Chinaman? Yeah.
the Chinese monk? Okay,
Yeah, with
that's
Tanzung.
okay.
Xuanzeng.
Yes,
Yeah, it's he's the same character, and I'm basically just retelling the story in kind of a different format, trying to make it more like approachable in a way. Like, yeah, it might go better for reading, but because I'm not even sure if I'm doing the voice difference clearly enough where you can tell that I'm like, doing something from in quotes versus telling the story, because it's like, I don't know. I think I might even like come up with the style, which probably means it's just not a good style. But like I have like kind of quotes where like she's talking to him, and then quotes where she's talking to him, and then let's see. So and then it's like I'll have the event. I'll have the quotes where she's talking, and then the event, like the stuff happening in the story at the present, right? So it goes kind of in and out.
yeah, I think that's clear.
Okay. Okay, so that works then. So, I mean, were you guys more or less able to follow?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anything stand out? Anything funny or interesting or enjoyable part of the thing? Was it kind of? Did I go too long on stuff?
not too long, I don't think.
I felt like I might have been belaboring aspects of the scene. But anyway, what stands out?
There was something about communicating. His learning the language, or something like that.
Yeah. No, there's a period where like I wanted the thing with the little girl where like he's learning to talk to be funny, where it's like,
Yeah.
did it come across or was it confusing? I guess that's my big question.
A little bit dry that I found so far. At least that's just my perspective so far.
Fair enough. So like that conversation was dry.
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely a back and forth. There needs to be a slight bit of refinement, I think, on the dialogue to make it feel a little bit more natural. But I think that can be fixed with a few passes, getting some feedback from other people.
Yeah. I mean, well, how could it be more?
Like, I think the main thing that I'm noticing is that I get an okay sense of these people, but when they talk, it kind of feels like a lot of them talk a little bit similarly. But that could just be me.
Characters talk too similarly. All right. I can see that. All right then. I guess I'm satisfied with the feedback. Thanks, guys.
Our pleasure. You're up, Comte Valerian of Monte
I'm
Cristo.
eating, so do you want me to read while I'm eating?
Oh, I didn't really do it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot that 2 o'clock is your consistent meal time for a second. Yeah, possibly because I have no consistent meal times.
Well, mine aren't as consistent as I'd like either, but
Oh, mine just aren't consistent. I often miss breakfast.
not good. You should
Oh.
have breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it's just like I often have to get out the door really quickly to go to work, and then I just
Yeah, what I ended up doing was pack. What I ended up doing is packing a breakfast and a lunch for work, and having lunch. I'd have my breakfast at lunchtime, then have my lunch in the late afternoon.
Mm.
But you could do it either way. Just eat while. Sometimes I would just eat while working. It depends on whether you're allowed to eat while working.
Yeah, I can eat while working. I usually snack while I'm working.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I would. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
There just wasn't time because I just didn't have the. If I'd eaten breakfast before going to work, I would never have made it to work.
Makes sense. Alrighty. Well, alrighty. So, all right. So I'll just go, and Valerian can be the final person. All right. Alrighty. Well, this is actually going to be over a little bit faster than I anticipated. Great.
Well, but I probably will still be eating when you're done. But
When I'm done, I'm always done.
oh god, I did it again. I always waltz right into that one.
Indeed.
Well, muffin are not really food. I know. I usually eat a muffin for breakfast on my way into work.
Well, good enough.
Yeah. Or some bananas, a little bit of a banana, a little bit of fruit.
Yeah, I hope that's not me.
Bananas are an extra form of potassium.
Also, the Monkey King ate bananas.
I'm sorry. I don't speak monkey. Banana. I'm not a monkey. Yeah, the Series of Unfortunate Events movie with Jim Carrey. It's a funny movie, but I prefer the Netflix series. It's far more interesting.
Hmm.
Alrighty. All right. So this is the second Dragonstrife, Chapter 5. At the moment, the entirety of the nobility have been assembled at Minandrakar, and they are trying to... They have been assembled to vote on who they want to be the next Dragonlord. Since there are 3 children, 2 of them twins, one of them doesn't want to be in the running, the other 2 are going to be pitted against each other. One is slightly less interested than the other, though. And now this is just their reaction to after the announcement that there will be a vote to decide who is the next Dragonlord. Bale poured himself a glass of water, then shifted his grip on the practice sword. He'd been practicing for a half hour already, holding his own against 2 of the most skilled swordsmen of the dragon. Despite being a bit bruised, he'd beaten both of them. Vale needed a drink. To press your claim. Shalia walked up and wiped her head free from sweat. If sweat as Vale took a sip of his drink. Shamira is insane and is completely obsessed with her engineering projects. You're the right person to rule. We should work together for that. Yeah. Vale nodded perfunctorily and handed her a cup of water from the page on duty. You should drink too. You're going pretty hard. Rolling eyes, Shalia took the cup and quaffed it in one gulp, then offered it for a refill. You seem utterly disinterested. I just want a quiet life with you and the kids, Bale said honestly. But what I want seems to be irrelevant compared to what I have to do. Slowly, Shelia relaxed and nodded. Well, that's all right, just as long as you do what's needed. Good to see you're practicing, friend. Bale froze, then turned to see Shard and Chimera walking down the steps into the practice yard from the preparation room. Come on, Shard. Show 'em why you're the blade of the evening, Chimera remarked, walking to the balustrade and leaning against the stonework. Shelia put her hand on Bale's arm. Don't rise to the bait, she whispered, voice full of fear. He's out of your league. You can't beat him. Better than I was when you beat me as a child, Bale countered, patting her hand comfortingly. Instead of being mollified, Shelia gripped his arm more tightly. Bale, he's an animal. You can't fight him, even in a practice capacity. He's only doing this to humiliate you. A little harsh, Bale shrugged. It could be fun. Just a bit of competition. Don't do it, Shelia insisted, clearly extremely uneasy at the idea of Bale going up against Shard. Scared, brother? Chimera taunted, absently stroking Darkfire's hilt with a grin that twisted the scar across her eye. If you're afeared of Shard over there, I'll spar with you. That won't be necessary, Chimera. Shard tilted his head and unfastened Dark Freight from his side so he could place it on the rack next to Judgment. Without pausing, he shrugged out of his long-tailed coat, revealing his puffy-sleeved white shirt with a slight high-collared black vest over it. Our valiant prince would relish the chance to prove his mettle and his courage. Casually, the dark-haired man adjusted his gloves and picked up a practice sword from the rack. Shard experimented with the weapon a bit, spinning it through his glove's hand as dexterously as a baton. Come on, Bale, Shard teased, a smile not even remotely close to his colorless eyes. I won't go too hard on you. You have my word. Shelia chewed her lip. Don't do it, she mouthed, but Bale was done with the song and dance. Calmly, he put his hand on his wife's shoulder and moved her back. If I back down now, how can I expect anyone to back me up when it matters? Clearly scared, Shelia shook her head, but didn't say anything. Bale grabbed a practice sword and set himself in a guard stance. Colorless eyes lazily wandering over the sparring ground, Shard started prowling toward Bale, sword held in a loose grip. I'm waiting, Bale. Shard spread his arms and spun his sword through his fingers. Bale didn't say anything. Instead, he started advancing, sword pointed at his opponent. Shard still hadn't raised his sword. Once he was close, Bale thrust out his sword, aiming at Shard's chest, then it shifted toward the dark-haired man's leg. With inhuman speed, Shard ignored the move toward his chest and spun his practice sword low, backing Bale's sword aside before hitting him in the side hard enough to elicit a grunt. Smile widening, Shard playfully spun the tip of his sword, tapping it against Bale's. You've gotten a bit faster. He started prowling around Bale, eyes taking more of a predatory cast. Come on, I'm intrigued to see what you're capable of. Not wanting to waste his breath, Bale attacked with a rapid flurry of strikes. Shard casually deflected each one as if he were fighting a palsy-ridden child. Surely you can do better, Shard taunted as he knocked away another strike. Bale abruptly attacked, sword darting for his enemy's side. Clearly contemptuous, Shard parried, but mid-stroke, Bale shifted his blade to hit his enemy's face. With a loud swish, the sword scraped against Shard's face, Ace causing him to stagger backward and clutch his cheek reflexively. Before Bale could do anything, Shard attacked with a savagery that made him retreat backward. Practice swords clacked with furious rapidity, but Bale could see how outmatched he was. Shard was fast and strong, far more than anybody Bale had faced. Bale might know how to handle a sword, but Shard was a sword. Finally, Shard shifted his blade and smacked Bale's hand, disarming him, then struck him in the face the exact same place where he'd been hit. Bale stumbled, then gasped as Shard struck him in the back of the knee, sending him to the ground. You should be proud, Shard whispered, reaching down and seizing Bale by the shirt with his gloved hand so he could drag him one-handed to his feet. Not many have managed to get a hit on me. He pulled Bale close and glared into his eyes. You have heart, but no stomach. You have talent, but no excellence. You have a spine, but no wisdom. In short, you don't have what it takes to rule or protect what's yours, he whispered, pale eyes fixed on Bale's face. All of Bale's retorts died as he looked into those eyes, those icy, cold, inhuman eyes. Fear roiled inside him as Shard gripped his shirt in an iron grasp and forced Bale to meet his colorless gaze. Finally, Shard released Bale with a casual flick, then smoothed this lapel. Next time, listen to your wife. She's clearly smarter than you. Well done! Chimera clapped as Shard walked over to his jacket and pulled it on. That was impressive to say the least. Honestly, I'd like a challenge, Shard shrugged. Somebody who's actually seen fighting. He gestured, then pointed to Shalia. Why don't we see if you fare any better? I have nothing to prove, Shalia remarked, folding her arms. Besides, when I fight to kill. Humorlessly, Shard grinned and inclined his head toward Shalia. Well said. Bale grimaced and glared after Shard. One day, Shard, he remarked, I'll beat you. Unconcernedly, Shard spun his sword through his fingers and led to Chimera. Well, if they won't offer me a challenge or oblige my requests, care to spar with me, my lady? Smirking slightly, Chimera unbuckled her sword belt, but instead of putting the scabbarded sword aside, she drew Darkfire and pointed at Shard. Only if we get his live steel, she remarked. Anything else does. Everyone gasped. Just shrugged. He tossed ocean to really as if she were touching a holy relic, which it could be argued that it was, as the sword picked up Dark Fate and threw it to Shard. Instead of grabbing it by the scabbard, Shard snatched it out of the air by the hilt and spun the weapon with a quick flick of the wrist. The scabbard was flung free, an elegant black and silver blade, exposing the famous blade of Darian the Peacemaker to the sunlight. Casually, Shard grabbed the scabbard before it hit the ground and placed it on one of the benches. Bale and Shalia had to close their mouths. Show off, Chimera teased, uncharacteristically good-natured around Shard for some reason. That's one way of putting it, Shalia muttered, clearly a bit shaken after Shard's display of dexterity. Bale just nodded. Out, Chimera and Shard began circling each other, a wolf preparing to attack a panther. Bale watched carefully. Maybe he could learn Shard's weakness if he wasn't in the thick of fighting him. Abruptly, Chimera attacked, obviously impatient to start fighting. Shard didn't even move his sword. Instead, he dodged out of the way, avoiding Chimera's quick strikes. He bared Chimera's snot charged, sword darting with the speed of a serpent's tongue. This time, Shard parried the attacks, and he seemed to be moving even faster than when he'd been fighting Bale. Chimera grinned and pressed her offensive, slamming her blade into his in an attempt to bash down his defensive strategy. However, despite her efforts, Shard seemed to flow out of the way of her attacks, parrying the weapon aside and otherwise wearing her out. He also used her blind spot by keeping to the side where her eye was missing in order to force her to move as he wanted. Does he have any weaknesses? Bale asked. Shelia shook her head, expression both impressed and scared, as the two combatants exchanged a flurry of blows at such a high speed that it was hard to make out their blades. Without warning, Sarge shifted from defense to offense, blade moving at an impossible speed at nearly every point on Chimera's upper body. Eagerness shifting to apprehensive, Chimera tried his aggression with her own. Shade seemed to be everywhere at once. Finally, he smacked her forearm, that causing her to flinch and shift her sword to the side long enough for him to smack the blade hilt of her sword. Dark fire flew into the air and into Shard's hand as Chimera wrung her hand, grimacing in pain. Shard crossed the weapons, bowed, then tossed Darkfire back to the owner. "Give the heir a hand. She fought well," he called, gesturing to the assembled crowd as Chimera caught the sword, seeming less angry than Bale would have expected her to be after being beaten at anything. "The heir?" Shelia hissed. "This was all a ploy. He always meant to humiliate you and prop her up." Bale took a deep, calming breath, then shook his head. "I get the feeling that we're outmatched," he chewed his lip, "and that we might be missing Shard's true objective." "Why do you say that?" Shelia asked as Chimera gave Shard a warm hug. "I don't think that he really wants Chimera to be the ruler," he said softly. "I think that he wants to have a mad dog that he can direct easily, or destroy when the time comes." Shelia lowered her voice. "You're right. You're the most externally attached of all Hera's children, as well as being less than biddable. Irene and him are close, but she's not interested in politics. Chimera is clearly paranoid and egotistical. Both are easily exploitable traits." "I'm going to need to leave," Bale said quietly. "I think he's going to attempt to remove us so that he can maneuver himself onto the throne once Chimera implodes. Not if we get the throne first." Shelia clasped his arm. "He'll murder all of us if we get the throne," Bale muttered. "It's the only way that he can get what he wants." "What do you think he wants?" Shelia demanded. "He's about as readable as a snake." "He wants power. Why else would he be siding with Chimera?" Bale hissed. "I'm going to excuse myself from the boat. You and the children are my top concern. I have to protect you at all costs." "Chimera will ruin the kingdom." Shelia gripped his shoulder, fingers tight as a vice. "You should be Dragonlord." "I will not risk our family," Bale said firmly. "I'm pulling out. That's my final decision." Shelia shook her head vehemently. "No, you need to be the one to hold the kingdom together. If you give up now, you will be ensuring the collapse of everything your ancestors have worked so hard to build. We can leave and come back," Bale said firmly, "just like the Peacemaker did. Odin was a good ruler. Chimera is not." Shelia grimaced. "Besides, do you think that Chimera will do well as Dragonlord?" Bale had to admit that it was not a promising idea. "So what would you have us do?" Bale asked. "We do what is necessary to win this vote." Shelia released her hold on his shoulder. "We need to make deals, form alliances." "Liliana said that she would prefer me over Chimera," Bale mused. "And we have Ulbar on our side, so we just need two more." That's the issue. Natrion is one of the two remaining in order to get the majority," Shelia said quickly. "Numenor is also undecided, so we could try for them." "Anybody else be likely to come to our side?" Bale asked. Shelia shook her head. "No. Everyone else is firmly in Chimera's camp based on my informant's reports. So we don't have a chance of winning." Bale took a deep breath. "I saw Natrion with Shard and Perion, and it seemed they were and something. What it is, I don't know." Shelia's face paled. "No," she whispered. "It can't be. No, I can't believe that we've lost." Bale put his hand on her shoulder. "As I said earlier, I'll withdraw myself and voice my support for Chimera. peace is a better option than another Dragonstrife. We could secure her and her children, Shalia nodded towards Chimera as she and Shard departed the practice yards. No, I won't do that. Bale made his tone as firm as he could. I will not overthrow and imprison my sister just because I'm going to lose the boat. But no buts, Bale tightened his grip. This comes to war, thousands will die. We cannot allow another Dragonstrife to split the kingdom, not after all the work the Peacemaker accomplished to reforge the kingdom into one. We can't just let her win, Shalia insisted. She's going to ruin this kingdom. Then we do what we can to preserve what must be preserved. Bale released her shoulder so that he could take her hand. He tried to keep his voice calm, but he couldn't keep the urgency out of his tone. The only thing we would accomplish by pitting ourselves against Chimera would be war with those who are supporting her. After all his mother had fought for, he would not let it be for nothing. Splitting the kingdom between two rival Dragonlords would be an even worse conflict than the previous Dragonstrife. We can work within the new regime and ensure that the people are treated well. There is nothing more we can do. Fine. Shalia wrenched her hand free. We'll do it your way. But I'm going to prepare for her trying to murder us in our sleep. She stalked away from him, back straight as a rod. And that's the end.
Solid work. I'm going to say solid work and then let somebody else critique.
Yeah, I think solid work too.
I want Shard to lose because he's smug.
He's a bit of an arse, isn't he?
Yeah.
I can tell.
And what else? What else? There was something else. There's something else. Some of the people do sound kind of alike.
Yeah.
Not that I can talk.
Yeah, I should probably fix that. I should probably fix that. Like, I tried to make like Chimera's. I should probably make Chimera a little bit more distinct than Shard. Bale and his wife talk very similarly, I will admit. Probably need to fix that.
Yeah, I think Bale and his wife sound fine.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a series of references throughout that whole thing. I would be very impressed if you.
I was going to ask if you talked to the Tolkien estate about this, for writing for permission. And then I guess what Bale of the Goshen Aiel sounds. I don't know if that's what you meant by reference.
Yeah.
It's all taken.
Go for it. Sorry.
It's all taken from the video game, right?
Which one? There's about 500 Star Wars video games.
Oh, a Star Wars
one.
video game. That narrows it down. Don't mind me.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was actually like a Knight's Tale. Well, there's no such thing as a Knight's Tale video game. It's kind of my favorite sports movie of all time. Mainly because it's jousting rather than sports ball. Because jousting is way cooler than football.
It is. There's a chance of dying. football, there's just a chance of like getting mild skull fractures and injuries, so that you beat your wife like later in life, and it's bad. Whereas jousting is just like,
Ouch.
you know,
Plus, the aesthetics look cooler.
that's the other
Indeed.
thing.
Yeah, there's also more individual skill in football. In jousting than in football. You have to be more precise and work along with the. Yes, Trip. It is a sports movie. Jousting is a sport.
Did you post
And
the
it follows-
YouTube link somewhere? I was going to try and look at what people are saying in the chat.
It's a rock and roll romance.
Is it just Oxula and Trip are the only ones that have talked so far?
So far, yeah. I posted the link up in YouTube stuff.
Yeah, people don't always turn up because it's not about Star Wars or some idiot video game or something. It's about actual writing. So they're like,
Should a Star Wars story.
I do have a science fiction book that's meant to be a rewrite of the prequels. I'm not agreeing with you on anything today. You're adorable.
Oh,
Love.
no way.
She's also not gonna be. She's also frustrated that Princess Bride is better than Willow.
Well, she's not wrong, really. It's good to know.
I've never seen Willow. I hear that the TV show they just made is really bad, according to the Critical Drinker.
Yes,
You know,
it is really bad.
I've given up. It's too much effort to form my own opinions, so I just outsource it to him for free. It's great.
Yeah, I usually find used opinions are like they charge too much for them. What was I going to say about the dialogue was bad?
Yeah, it's unfortunately exceptionally modern.
It's very jarring.
Look, guys, it's
not
none of it's
even
going to be any
consistent.
good ever again. Nothing's going to be good until Jesus comes and sorts everything out, and that's it. I'm sorry.
We're all doomed, and the world is destroyed and annihilated, and there's no hope.
No. It's not going to be that bad.
Not that
It's like
level.
Jesus pops in, goes to Damascus, kills the Antichrist, and then a couple other things happen. I guess I'm not sure.
You're ruining my melodrama.
No, fair enough. But yeah,
It's an important moment in the story.
I don't know. It seems like looking at all the angles that I can't even articulate of what's gone on in the culture and in the world. It's like, yeah, it's something's gonna happen because it's like, have you heard the term learning loss? You know, learning loss, where it's like in the classroom, some teacher decides to start like teaching some nonsense, right? And like, not only is the nonsense they're teaching worthless, but all of the stuff that, like, the time that could have been spent developing the students isn't done. So students are like even further behind because of that. And it's like, you look at the whole world, like we're all suffering from massive learning loss. And maybe
Some social studies then.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Basically, all we need is PE and math. But
I actually like Knight's Tale more than I like Princess Bride. I've watched Knight's Tale more frequently. I find it incredibly funny. It's called a lance. Hello.
that is a good movie. It's my little brother's favorite.
Is that the one Mark Hamill is, or something else I'm thinking of?
Not Mark Hamill. No,
Heath
the guy that played Heath Ledger.
Oh, right, yeah, okay.
His death was tragic. And I won't say whose fault it was.
Yeah, poor guy.
We all
Yeah.
know.
I would say that it was kind of some mental health and getting way too into a role. I think that was the problem.
Our mental health
Yeah.
system is at the core of it. Like, they fundamentally, like, it's like most of our mental issues come from this divorce from each other, from ourselves, from society, right? And then what they do is they concretize out some single like diagnoses for you, and then they give you a bunch of drugs that no human in your gene pool like leading up to you has ever dealt with, right? It's just like it doesn't make any sense. So of course he, plus like maybe Pasternak was involved. Who knows? Anyway. Yeah, rest in peace. I was pretty upset when that happened. Like, I mean, Knight's Tale was fantastic. I really liked Heath Ledger, just in general, and his Joker was unassailable. But yeah, basically the culture killed him, and the medical system.
Yeah.
Trip, you can be so creepy. Like, no offense, not in a bad way. Just like, I think that was on purpose. Whoa.
Well,
Probably.
Yeah, I'm fully aware that her mental health,
yeah.
what she's talking about, basically her mental health challenges are because of me.
Oh no, I thought she was implying something far worse. Okay, never mind then. That's not too bad.
It's called donosis.
Well, me and Trip have a bet or something.
Yeah. Yeah, if he loses her composure, he has to write erotica.
No, my composure.
What?
Well, if he loses composure, he has to write erotica.
Do you write in a British accent? Is that the point?
Well, of course, darling.
That made me feel icky. I don't know why.
I love it when she tells him to lose and then tells him to win. Yeah.
You
And then he does it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it kind of goes. It's now erotic horror. Oh my gosh.
Yes, that's what we decided. You will never make me, Trip. You can try, but you can't.
Wait,
Good luck.
losing your composure
Exactly.
how? Like, if she makes you crack up, then you have to write.
If I get angry, actually.
If you get angry, oh, jeez, I can't imagine getting angry about somebody online. Like, no, actually,
No,
that's
if he gets
Twitter.
Trust me.
What's it? Can it frustrate you that far?
no, it's about if he gets angry on stream at anything.
Lose composure. Well, you'd have to have some composure to begin with.
Who got angry?
Indeed.
That makes sense. No, I've gotten. I guess I've felt angry. I wouldn't say I've gotten angry, but like that's kind of like part of the addiction of going on Twitter, right? Or
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
because you know that no matter how much you argue with a person, you're not going to change their mind. Like I think I have actually once in a while, like I'll be talking to somebody whose mind isn't totally set, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's a perspective I've never thought of. That's very rare. And it's mostly like you read through comments and you see somebody who's got like, their whole world in a bottle and pouring it onto the screen.
In a
And you're not
bottle.
gonna do anything. What's that?
Oh, he said lose composure, which simply means shake that British steadfastness. So basically just watch Willow.
Never.
So perhaps not
Well,
get
I think
angry,
many
maybe
people
perhaps
put it that
break
way.
out in half.
Another couple minutes. I'm almost ready. So carry on. Perhaps get angry. Perhaps. Well, I don't do Twitter at all, so hey.
Probably wise. It's a good advertising tool in some respects. but
Yeah.
it is.
Well, if drinks being a strip, I'm British.
The bird's cute.
It's very important what words mean to me. You should know that by now. Oh, yes, I do, but it was just like lose composure was relatively vague as get exasperated, maybe.
True enough.
Yeah, you're a crinkly Valerian. We can hear that.
All right, I guess
We
I'm
can
gonna
hear
go
Chris.
get us back. I'll be back. Hopefully, Valerian will be back about the same time.
Julio, take a stretch. Hello, Hollywood, Jackson, Mississippi. Got Chuck Stone singing around. Gonna kiss myself. I'm so pretty. Too hot, hot thing. Call the police and the fireman. Too hot.
She says,
hot thing.
"Go Balerian," she says.
Hmm.
Oh my, go Balerian, she says. Thank you. I have no idea. It might have been. Well, carry on yakking, you lot.
Just being rude.
We're not yakking because we are not yaks.
Oh, God.
Indeed.
That I know of.
Depends when you're doing it. I could be working and may have a late night, so I need to get some sleep.
Okay, that's fine.
You'll just miss mine then. Well, I just missed yours, so you're getting revenge.
Well, is it revenge so much as fair play?
Revenge sounds more melodramatic, so we'll go for revenge.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect that may make your composure bend a tad.
Well, that's not me getting angry. It's Wasidia who's going to get angry at you playing Doom Trip. To be fair,
Who
I think
was?
it would be Wissia.
Well,
Yeah.
if I played Doom, I would get whatever the equivalent of you died is. I would get it like in 2 seconds.
I think it's game over.
Oh, that's lame. You died has so much more oomph to it.
Indeed.
Not to worry, just another couple. Not even a minute left.
Makes sense.
mm-hmm.
That's why I was saying we should have her play that other game, Dark Souls or whatever it's called, the one with the you died in it.
Well, I did get her Elden Ring.
Is
Which
that
is
have you died?
Yeah, that one has you died.
Okay, good.
Oh, I see. Okay, Trip.
Yeah.
That's the criterion of a good game. A good game is one where they say you died.
So it became possible
Well,
then.
Sorry? And if you're ready for more Harry Potter parody,
Sure.
Here we go.
Yep, I got my snack, so.
Your patience will either be rewarded or punished. Okay, come on, get me there.
I feel punished.
You haven't even heard it yet, and you. All right, this is part 2, parody of Goblet of Fire, part 2. Pardon me. Derridina saves Cedric's life and stops the bad guy from killing Harry and like stuff, but there's this really annoying teacher who thinks he's great. Part 2. The second thing in the tournament was they had to go underwater and save someone, and Moody told Cedric, so he told Harry, and Harry told Derridina, and Crumb and Flair also knew about it because they cheated. And Derridina told Harry to get a gillyweed that gives gills, and Derridina was part mermaid, so she already had gills. And Crumb had to rescue Hermione, and Fleur was supposed to save her sister, and Harry has to save Ron. And this was a problem because Derridina should have saved Harry, but he was in the tournament, so she saved someone else instead, and she ended up saving Harry too because he saved the others, but he ran out of gillweed and stuff. Then the count teacher called Harry and said, "Remember I told you Moody is a fake and is bad. He cursed the gobbler, so it's a portkey and takes you to Voldemort. And he uses you to come back to life and kill Cedric. That sucks." And Harry said, "That's deep," fervently. And during a meeting of the teachers, the fake Moody said to the new count teacher was probably a Death Eater, and that's why he kept calling Harry to his office. And the new teacher laughed sarcastically and said, "Yeah, right. And you're the Death Eater, bozo." And Derridina said, "I know he's fake and bad, but how do you know that? You two are bitchy." And the count said, "I will only explain to Dumbledore." And Dumbledore said, "I trust Moody." And the new prof said the good guys should get Harry's Marauder map, and no one did. So the teacher told Harry to keep it and make sure no one got it, especially fake Moody. And Harry noticed Coach kept coming up on the map, and Moody never did. And the count said, "That's because he," and Derridina said, "He's really some guy named Crouch in disguise. I said it first. Yeah, yeah, yeah." "Not the same Crouch, though," said the count. "There's two Crouches. One is like a good guy, but he's nasty because he was mean to people that got it accused of being Death Eaters," said Derridina. "Yeah, and he had a son who was a Death Eater? I know this already. Sirius told me, and I saw in a pensieve, which is where people keep memories. And I'm sick of you guys knowing everything. It's boring. I want to know stuff too. And one self-inserted author is bad enough. I can't take two," said Harry fervently. "In a way, having two authors insert themselves into the narrative is like kind of cool because the subversion of the narrative is like itself subverted. And maybe I'll do it to my friend Mary Sue Hagel, who thinks she's totally all that," said Derridina. Yeah, and you didn't know the Triwizard Cup is going to be a portkey, and I do, because I have secret knowledge, but I'm not telling students, said the Count. Yeah, said Derridina fervently. You are a jerk. Then he took more points from Derridinador. He sucks, and I'm getting revenge. Fervently, scathingly, embracingly. Then the last thing in the Triwizard tournament was they had to go through the maze and get the Triwizard Cup. That's why the lame teacher said it was a portkey. And Flora and Crumb got it cursed, so Harry and Cedric and Derridina got it there first. And Harry had a broke leg, but he got it healed by Derridina, which is why Cedric got it there first. But he insisted Harry get it because he didn't know it was a portkey and think he was being noble. And Harry forgot it. Pardon me. Harry forgot it. It was cursed and wanted Cedric to get it because he thought that was good. Derridina stopped Cedric from getting the Goblin of Fire because she knew the annoying new teacher was right and he'd get killed. So she and Harry got it, and Cedric thought they were jerks, but learned the truth later. Derridina and Harry landed in a cemetery with a bunch of Death Eaters, and they was goth, and Lord Voldemort was there with Wormtail, who used to be Peter. He bringed Voldemort back to life with gross stuff and wanted to use Harry's blood, but Derridina magicked, so he got a catsup instead. So Voldemort is made of catsup, but he didn't know this and made a long speech about how he used to be a lamer, but now he ruled. And he didn't notice Derridina because she was hiding. She was biding her time and invisibled herself, and he's a chauvinist and didn't notice girls. And Voldemort gloated about how he guided Harry and was going to trask him. And Harry had a broken leg and dislocate shoulder and lose a foot and got cancer and asthma. And 2/3 of his body was paralyzed, so he couldn't escape the Death Eaters, but he got it healed by Derridina. And she said, okay, now I know Voldemort's back. Let's split by using the Triwizard Cup. Achoo, portkey. And she summoned the Triwizard Cup, and she and Harry used it to get away so they could tell everyone the bad guy was back. But before she got it away, Voldemort got at her fashion sense. So she didn't look as cool in Chapter 5, and this gave her angst. But meanwhile, they got it back, and Derridina explained to Cedric why she wouldn't let him get the Triwizard Cup. And the fake Moody tried to take Harry and Derridina to his office so he could kill them, but the lame new teacher stopped him and made him take Veriserum, which makes you tell the truth. And so he told them all about how he escaped from Afghanistan, the wizard prism, and mated Walmart, and they planned to use a Triwizard to kill Harry, but they forgot it about Derridina and the foreign count guy who mucked everything up. And Dumbledore believed them and told the Mister of Magic, but the Mister didn't believe them because fighting Voldemort was too much work, and he had powerful lobbyists like Malfoy who wanted the Mister named Fudge to think everything was like cool, which shows capitalism sucks. And it's bad because the Mister got a bribe, and that's why he wouldn't fight the Death Eaters. And Malfoy made the Mister pass a law that said he was cool and Dumbledore was a loser. So Dumbledore said that Fudge was dumb and he was going to fight Walmart. And Snape and Count Lamer and Derridina and Harry agreed, but the Mister make the mass media say they was all screwed up. And he tried to expel Derridina, but she was cool. So she had special government status. So the Mystery couldn't do that. And that's that.
Your parody style never ceases to amuse me.
Thank you, my good people.
It was something.
Achieve memories is probably what Maggie May Fish does on an average day. No comment.
The voice.
Bye.
Right. I was gonna say the voice that you did, like it was just this side of tolerable, but it seemed it was impressive skill. It was a feat. It was a feat of skill to maintain that for so long. It was
the voice is
And to be annoying.
it was like
annoying. Yes,
it was like annoying in kind of an endearing way, kind of. Yeah, so it was kind of a silly retelling of was it the fourth or fifth book? Was that
fourth book?
Fourth book. That's right.
Yeah, one of these parodies that I did. I don't know if it's parody 5 or parody 6 has a very special, interesting scene. Speaking of Boorman, but we will get to that later.
Good old John Boorman, one of the most weirdly overloved directors in existence, mainly just for Excalibur and nothing else. Everything else he's ever done, nobody has liked. It's weird. Nobody likes any of his movies aside from Excalibur.
Well, to be fair, his masterpiece never got to be done because of the narrow-mindedness of the film industry.
Or their comparative wisdom to what they are now. I think that if John Boorman made Lord of the Rings, tried to make Lord of the Rings now, they might actually try it. If She-Hulk can get made, John Boorman's Lord of the Rings can totally get made.
This is tragic, then. But what is ASMR?
It's basically talking very soft and very sexily into the can.
No comment. ASMR.
Remind me, I can't remember what the acronym stands for.
Neither do I, to be fair.
Audio, I don't know, sensory. I'll just look it up. I mean, that's not hard. It's not a hard thing to look up. And then autonomous sensory meridian response. Autonomous sensory meridian response.
Okay.
Why are you saying yeah?
That sounds very. I'm just trying to translate that into English.
Basically, like automatically, a meridian response. That's interesting. They use meridian. It's like,
Meridian. I mean, meridian is like noon.
It's basically.
This is how you do an ASMR. You speak like this very, very softly into a microphone with the intent of arousing your subjects.
Oh, well, I do fake sexy voices sometimes. Like, this is so hot, man. Like, this is so, like, rocks are so hot, man. Like geology is like where it's at, man. Like, there's rivers and stuff. Like, Middle Earth is like, I want to just do it with Middle Earth, man.
you're gonna need to make it more ASMR if you want to shake Codex.
Bother.
I don't know how to do it. I'd try, but I know the Trip's just going to be mean to me, so I'm not going to try.
Is she going to be mean, or is she just going to tease you?
I feel like she's going to be mean. I feel like she actually doesn't like me. Like most people, she's like kind of, borderline personality disorder toward. I think she's like toying with them personally. Yeah, see, exactly. Like Trip, like I'm not even going to try. It's already saying, like, for most people, the point is arousal, not run away. Right? And she's already, like, she tries to make me feel bad about myself because I speak truth to power.
She's like, excuse me. That's funny.
No, it's just the Sigourney Weaver one. You ever seen Holes?
I've never seen Holes. Somebody was talking about it. My cousin was talking about it. I should call
It's actually pretty decent, all things considered.
Yeah, it's I think it's my favorite Shia LaBeouf for performance.
I mean, it's not hard, to be fair.
That is also true. I love Trip's response.
He was good in Fury, actually, to be fair. He was good in Fury.
Okay.
But look, to be fair, doesn't really talk that much.
I haven't seen Fury, so I'll have to... I know it's a tank movie. You have terrible taste in music stars and terrible political beliefs.
Oh. Yeah, see, it's like...
It's hilarious. I love it.
And then she won't justify that claim on any level. Like the only one who can save America right now happens to be a music star. And I don't want to get us demonetized, so I won't say his name.
Fred Flintstone.
Close. Very close. Entirely too close. And you probably already just got us deplatformed, man.
Hey. Nah. I don't care.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah. It's totally okay. Well, we'll have to conclude it there. I need to eat something before we do a Princess Bride watch party in the Red Ham server. So I will have to see you guys later. Adios.
All right, take it easy, Don. Thanks for doing this.
Good day.
I'm going to leave too.
Have a riot.